Previously on Talking Joe.
And while they've been using various spoofing things to try and defeat it, the reason that Big Ben is able to actually defeat their facial recognition is because he's on the SAS. And SAS security is clearly much better than G.I. Joe security.
Yes.
Where they can spot Cutter, underwater from a distance of 50 meters.
Talking Joe is on the air, and here are your hosts, Chief and Mark.
Hey to the hey. Chief Doggy Dog is up here in the loft. I don't know what's happening there. What about you? My good buddy Mark is on the show. Funky Bunch. Where are you?
I'm here in my office. I'm Mark J. Seddon, the greatest co-host of the Talking Joe podcast. So good. There've been other co-hosts. Everybody has been saying they were terrible, so bad, which is why they're fired. Some terrible people. Some of these people say that's the first choice for the host. They're just fake news. I'm the best. I'm the greatest. Oh, excuse me. Sorry. I just think I might have had
Someone impeach this man.
I'm sorry. I don't know quite what came over me there. I'm actually Mark here.
We're not a political podcast. However, I was at one point. I had my finger over a button of a £500 bet on Joe Biden to win the presidency.
Crikey.
Just before, I think it was Tuesday, and he was short price. He was like 1-2, which means my 500 wins me 250, so I get 750 return.
Okay, but you didn't click.
I was like, that's a lot of money. I'd read a lot of articles, and it was just like the pollsters obviously got it wrong in terms of, they got it right in terms of predicting Biden was going to win, but they got it way wrong in terms of the landslide victory they were predicting. And my mate, who I work in the betting industry, and my mate who's worked in it, for as long as I have, he was like, "Listen, why is Trump 2-1 to win when the polls are saying that Biden's going to win by 80% of the vote? That doesn't equate, the probability doesn't equate to the betting odds." Now, in my experience of being in the betting industry, bookies know far more than so-called pundits and experts, because they've got what's called skin in the game. They're staking cash money on being right or wrong, whereas pundits and experts, be it football experts or whatever, or sport experts, there's nothing riding on there. Just I say this team's going to beat this team, and they obviously don't. Doesn't happen. So what? Move on, next one. Whereas bookies have got a cash money involvement here, so they cannot afford to be wrong. So I thought it was definitely going to be a lot closer than predicted, but still, I don't know. Long story short, I didn't make the bet and didn't win the money, so that whole last 3 minutes of diatribe was pointless, really. So I forgive me, listeners, for boring you with that.
But on Twitter there was a thing with Nigel Farage, who took a photo of himself holding up a bit of card saying that he had bet, I think, £10,000 or dollars for Trump to win it.
Right.
But Farage, for our US listeners, not a very well liked character over here, despite, I think, declaring himself the King of Europe this week.
Oh, did he? Okay, interesting.
And I think he was introduced at a rally as the King of Europe, Nigel Farage. So I don't think there'll be too much pity for him if he has lost out £10,000 there out of his own pocket.
Right.
But how's the week been going? Have you been glued to the TV set and news and following all of the happenings in the States? Because I guess for our listeners' benefit, we're recording now on the Sunday, so I guess the day after that it's been declared.
Yeah. Following to a certain extent, but only because I did have a few bets on. I had a few quid on Democrats to win Michigan and Arizona and Pennsylvania, so I was only interested from a betting point of view. But if I hadn't have had those bets on, I probably wouldn't have bothered paying much attention, to be honest. But there you go. I'm trying to think what else I've been doing. Finished off my Resident Evil series with one of the animateds, Resident Evil Vendetta. It's a CGI movie. I really enjoyed it. It felt a little bit video gamey in its design, which is understandable. But as a movie, I thought it was pretty good. So there's two more CGI Resident Evil movies. One is from about 12 years ago, which is going to look dated, I imagine, and then there's another one. But checking out those. Still striving to get to my 200 movies in a calendar year. I think I need about 44 or something like that, or 42. So I'm hitting the level of almost needing one a day.
Yeah, you're getting there, aren't you? Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
So stay tuned, listeners. Will I do it or not? The smart money is on not.
And I enjoyed your little Instagram video sesh with Ben on the Outer Timers channel. That was nice, with your little unboxing of some Star Wars figures. So fans of the show, check that one out with Chief and Ben.
It's about a 50-minute video of me and Ben unboxing a Luke Skywalker and Yoda Black Series 2-pack, and then just talking about other action figure stuff. So check that out. There will be a one-off Outer Timers special coming out in the next couple of weeks, probably, and it's not going to lead to a redoing, a reimagining of the show. It is just a one-off, but stay tuned for that. Everything is tightly under wraps, so yeah, that should be exciting. What about you? Up to anything interesting this week?
I'll tell you what I watched. I watched G.I. Joe Retaliation and G.I. Joe Rise of Cobra, which neither of those, I don't think I've watched them since I saw them in the cinema. So it's been a few years. So I watched those with Thomas, and sort of enjoyed them. They're a bit of fun. I obviously had the expectations from having watched them before, and I thought, particularly with Retaliation, where it doesn't necessarily feel a lot like G.I. Joe in a lot of places, how that would be. So I kind of tried to leave my brain at the door and sort of just enjoy it for what it was. And quite silly. Some of the CGI is looking quite dated in parts, but still fun. And Rise of Cobra is sort of got its own charms. You know, there's that big ninja battle where they're all hanging off the cliffs on their ropes and whatnot. So way of passing the time. Bit of didn't regret the rewatch, but I would very much like to see a lot more of a faithful take on the G.I. Joe franchise on the screen. So we'll see if the Snake Eyes film delivers that at some point down the line.
That's next year, is it?
It will be, well, who knows these days. I think it was originally due for this year release. So,
that's right.
It's going to be hopefully some point next year.
Yeah, good stuff. Yeah, other than that, Chief is still looking for a house, finding it very difficult, but time pressures are on. I've got another couple to look at next week. I'll keep the fine folks updated on that. I've got back into painting some of my Star Wars Imperial Assault figures as well. I painted a nice Obi-Wan Kenobi, which I'll stick up on the socials. That came out pretty well, and I was trying to indoctrinate Evelyn into the ways of pop culture. So I got her, she drew a Jabba the Hutt and a Chewie this morning.
Excellent. Okay, I thought that was you who'd drawn it. Jokes.
I'll put them up as well.
No, they're good. They're good.
I know your kids do a lot of drawing, and they're pretty good, and you yourself as well turn your hand to the pen.
On occasion. I wouldn't say that was good, but when I'm comparing myself to the skills of a 5-year-old or whatever, then I feel like I'm okay.
Speaking of action figures, which we're not, but we're going to, we got this now. Action figures, we all love them. We all love them. Action figures, they bring us joy in our daily lives. Bring us joy. Action figures, evoking memories from our childhood. But now we're grown and we just can't stop. Buying plastic till our wallets pop. When will it end? Who can say? 'Cause action figures are part of our DNA. Some people say maybe we've gone a little wacko, but action figures bring us joy like a rainbow. They are so hot like a splash of Tabasco. Now it's time for action figure fiasco. Now it's time for action. Okay, more fiascos this week. Do you want to start with the G.I. Joe character, or do you want to start with the non-G.I. Joe character?
Why not? Let's start with the Joe. Let's go.
Start with the Joe. So here in front of me, I think you've got him as well. I've got the Destro, classified 6-inch.
Excellent. Yeah, the V1 Destro, not the Profit Director P Diddy Destro. So yeah.
Now, okay, what I'm doing here is I'm checking all the usual faults with these classified Joes. How's his waist? Not bad. How's his legs? Not bad. He is pretty stiff, so to speak.
Yep, he's solid.
Pretty pleased with that. I said Roadblock might have been my favourite of this line. Man, now I've got this guy in my hand. It's kind of that situation where whichever one you pick up suddenly becomes your favourite. So this guy's good. Nice stiff knee joints. I like the boots here. Good design. Good kind of detailing on that boot.
Yeah. Quite
really
simple,
nice.
but still a lot of detailing there. Nonetheless, it
bit
sort
of
of
creasing of the trousers around the knee. That's nice. This kind of, he's got a floating belt, but because it's attached to the leg piece, it doesn't float up his midriff too much, which is nice.
Yeah, and it hides the join as well. So
hides the join as well. It's got a little gold pistol in there. That's pretty cool. Too muscly for you or not?
I'd say that's about the right amount. I'd say.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't have any issues with that.
Yep. The head sculpt is fantastic.
It really is, isn't it?
Really, really good. Nice gold. I didn't realise the necklace was actually removable.
Yeah, the necklace is a separate piece. So yeah, you can sort of pose that, and I've seen people sort of using it to quite good effect, like in an action scene where it's kind of almost swinging away from them as they're in action, kind of thing. So
how do you feel about this other gun he's got? I don't mind it. It's we've said that these weapons are a bit more sci-fi-ish, but this one, it's got some nice red trim on it, telescopic sight. I don't mind that at all.
Yeah, it's a fine looking gun. I think that my preference out of the two is probably the gold one, just because it fits so snugly in his hand.
I haven't taken it out of the holster yet. Okay, there you go. Yeah. All right, let's switch. I'm going to switch it over.
His pistol finger fits very nicely in that pistol grip.
Let's try it live on the pod. Okay.
But yeah, I think they've done well with with Destro and Duke with their holsters and their little guns that they sort of very successfully sort of fitting them in.
So does that other gun now fit in the holster? That bigger one?
The bigger one doesn't, as far as I know.
It does. Yeah.
Does it really?
Yeah.
It fits it. Okay.
And then the telescopic sight kind of comes to the outside of the holster.
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
Crikey, I just assumed it was too big. Crikey,
very good. Wrist rockets on the right gauntlet. Nothing on the left gauntlet. And obviously he's got this Cobra attaché case with his computer and the wads of cash.
Very good, yeah.
But yeah, this figure's good, man.
Yeah, I would have quite liked if maybe one of the guns could fit in that attaché case.
Ah, right. Not tried it. Does the gold one not fit?
I've not got the case in front of me, so I don't know.
Okay.
But
let me have a look. Let's get this case out of his hand. Undo the clasps. Yeah, that's going to fit easy.
Okay, cool.
Easy pickings.
Yeah, it was more me thinking that there's no way that black gun would fit on his belt. So.
Oh, right, okay, so you were looking for somewhere to put it.
Yeah.
Well, would a black one fit in the case?
No, it's too big. It's too big,
isn't it?
It's
tiny bit too big, but yeah, there you go. Destro, everyone. Good figure. Good figure. Now, where do you stand on Profit Director?
He's fun, a little bit of silliness. I didn't go for him because I thought one Destro is enough.
Yeah.
But I know that my brother Pete, he's the one figure that he really wanted out of the entire run. So fair enough.
Okay.
But I think particularly that face sculpt. We've seen a lot of versions of Destros over the years, and I think they've really got that balance of what makes a good Destro face in terms of how organic does it look, how metallic and angular does it look. There's a lot of the version 1 in there still. There's a lot of the cartoon Destro in that face. I think they've sort of balanced all of the best bits of the kind of the different Destros very nicely, really. So pretty spot on all around, I'd say.
Good stuff. Let's move on to another one. We've got another figure here, and and now these figures are, even though they're 6-inch line, these classifieds, some of them skew a little bit bigger than like the Black Series Star Wars, even though they're all 6-inch. But now I've got a figure This is probably about 8 inches. It is the McFarlane. It's from the McFarlane DC line. Now, this multiverse line is a 7-inch line. So interesting that they chose not to go this kind of standard 6-inch, which Hasbro do for all their stuff, the Power Rangers, the Black Series, the G.I. Joes and stuff. They've gone a 7-inch line. I guess they're thinking slightly bigger figures look more impressive in the toy shops, so parents might gravitate, or kids might gravitate to the slightly bigger figures. Anyway, this is from the 7-inch line, but it is the Batman Hellbat, and because it's a guy in a big suit of armour, it stands about 8 inches tall. Now, this, I think, jet black with red trim everywhere, so it's two-colour, it's a bit of kind of greyish in places, shoulder pads, knee pads, but and a gloss black and matte black, but very stark colours. I think this is from the Peter Tomasi, Pat Gleason Batman and Robin run, where Batman has to go to Apocalypse to rescue Damian from Darkseid. And he has this Hellbat suit made, quite angular, big studded shoulder pads, like he's like Legion of Doom from wrestling, like American football studded pads. These clawed gauntlets with studs on the back. Doesn't come with any accessories, nothing to hold, 2 clawed hands. But this is a mighty imposing figure, and he does come with a couple of wings which you can clip on. I'm popping them on now, and they fold out.
They've got a like a, what do you call it, like a hinge.
Hinge on them.
I'm going to lean over and see if I can find that Tomasi book. I think it's on my shelf within reaching
mighty
distance.
Impressive wingspan. But this figure is really, really nice. 20 quid, great value for money. Good, you can get the head. You don't get too much articulation on the head, up and down, but you get good left and right. You can do, the shoulder pads are not attached to the upper arm, they're just to the shoulder, so they don't impinge on the movement too much, but you can get some real great poses with this guy. It's got a toe hinge as well, for even added posability. The only downside with this figure, I don't even, Mark's even there, he's over at the bookshelf.
Yeah, no, I was muting myself while I was flicking through
the only downside with this guy is super, super loose hips. So where that thigh goes up into the pelvis, sometimes when you try and stand him up, his legs slide apart and he goes into the splits.
Oh, right. Crikey.
So that is a bit of a problem, but overall, really, really great figure.
Yeah,
I've had him doing some good poses with Black Panther, which I think I shared with Mark, so I might get those ones out.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the Tomasi.
So that would have been near the end of the run, maybe
the
round
Batman,
issue late 30s.
Batman and Robin omnibus. Where is it? Let me see if I can find a chapter break.
Are you a fan of that run?
Yeah, I enjoyed it. Yeah. I sort of gravitate, I guess, towards some of the more grounded.
Yeah,
Batman
I had all the single issues and the 3 annuals, and I was going to, and then the crossover, whatever, the We Are Robin crossover, and I was going to custom bind it, but then I reread it recently, and I was like, I really loved the first arc, and maybe up to about issue 10, and then the rest I enjoyed, but I was like, no, I'm probably never going to read it again, so I just sold them all.
Yeah. I'm just flicking it through. I could probably quite easily reread this because a lot of it is
but it's a solid book.
I really memory already. But
big fan of Pat Gleason's art as well. So,
but yeah, I think in the comics it looks like the outfit is a little bit sort of more pared back, so it's it doesn't quite have as much as that red trim, and it also looks a bit more slimline, so quite a little bit less of that bulkiness to the design. But yeah, it's a nice looking looking figure. I know when you shared your photo of some of your collection, my eyes did gravitate to that and sort of go, ooh, that is an interesting looking and imposing design there.
Good stuff. More action figure fiasco next week. But now, comic talk. Oh, comic talk. Larry Hammer writes them. Chief and Mark discuss them. Whoa. Comic talk, oh, comic talk. Larry Hammer writes them, Chief and Mark discuss them, whoa. Okay, that's right, on today's show we are talking issues 246 to 250. It's the 5-part Dawn of the Arashikage story, and quite a lot of changes, quite a lot of shift in tone, and it all starts with new artist on board. Focus of one particular character for all 5 issues, but before we jump into the meat on the bones, let's have a look at the covers.
Favorite cover.
Okay, so here, I wasn't aware that we have got an absolute plethora of covers here across these 5 issues. So rather than go through every single one, I've picked out my top 3. So,
Okay.
You pick out some that you want to discuss. We don't want to be
Sure.
here all day. But, I'll go first. So I think my first favourite cover, I'm going to skip forward to the next issue, 247.
Okay.
And I like the SL Gallant Artist Edition cover.
Oh yeah, sort of. It's kind of looking like that half-finished
Yeah.
kind of look.
You can
to
see
it.
some blue line in the background,
Yeah.
so it's it's not something that happens. Dawn has got Cobra Commander on the deck, sword at his neck. Is it Scarlet coming rushing in from the background? I think
Could
possibly.
be. Yeah.
I've only got the small one here, but
I can't quite figure. It might be Baroness. It's.
Yeah.
I've only got the thumbnail in the front of my book.
all right. The next, I do quite like the quick shout out to the Mindbender one from that issue as well from Royal. But the next one I'm going to is the next issue 248, and I really like the Deep Six one by John Royal.
Oh yeah, it's a good one, isn't it?
Anytime you see Deep Six in action, that's good. Dive down from. He's not coming out the shark, is he? He might be, but it's not in picture because he's got a tube that's going up off the page.
That's
But
right.
there's some sort of Cobra underwater sub attacking him there. Very good stuff there. The next one I'll pick is... Well, I'm going to do 4 actually. They both come from 249.
Okay,
It's the standard
249, okay.
Netho Diaz cover A.
Okay, very
And
good.
it's Dawn holding a snake. Just like the dynamics of that particular pose.
Yeah,
and
it's cool, isn't
composition.
it? The massive snake wrapped around Dawn, and she's sort
Yeah.
of holding it away from her. Yeah, it's a good composition.
Yeah, and my other favourite from this issue as well is the retailer incentive Yesteryear Comics cover by Miguel Mercado.
Yeah,
with
very good. Yeah.
Serrana on a kind of bar stool, legs up, feet up, holding a knife, just looking pretty badass.
Yeah, agree. Yeah, that would be one of my favourites from
Okay.
these as well.
Pick out some of your favourites then. That one, yeah.
So that's one of them, and I think Miguel Mercado has got variants for most, well, a few of these at any rate. The back of 250 is hilarious because that's got a bunch of the variant covers in there. Because we're doing 5 issues, and there's at least 5. Well, there's sort of on most of these there's four standard variants, and then on the 250 we've got another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 kind of variants, which is a bit crazy.
Yep.
In 250 we've got a John Royal variant, which is Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow in a snow background, and there's the Arashikage kind of symbol on these pillars behind them, and it's just quite a nice sort of iconic shot. And Storm Shadow might even be in his urban camo look. I'm not entirely sure because I'm again just looking at the thumbnail here. But there's an interesting story behind this one, which was that it started off life as a commission for the G.I. Joe fan Russ Heath, who we've talked about on the show before. And
Yes.
he got the commission from John Royal. He then got it inked, and he also commissioned all of the colouring as well. So the cover, as you see, it was pretty much all entirely a private commission. At which point, IDW decided they wanted to run it as a cover, and did without any, I guess, recognition to the fact that poor Russ had paid for all of this as a private commission, but ran it. So that's I guess one of the dangers of having a private commission, that it's looking so good and polished.
Yeah, right.
It can just get stolen by the publisher. But I think that would be the main one that I'd flag out of this lot. Otherwise, we're going to be here all day, I think.
Good. No, that's good. Okay, cover's done. Like I say, all changed. This is Larry still writing, obviously, but now we've got Netho Diaz coming on for this 5-parter, and he actually goes on to do some more art later on in the series. Inker is Tiago Gomez, and colours Milan Parvanov. Letters Neil Utikake or something like that. Okay, apologies if you're listening, Neil. Right, so let's start with the sit rep. Last time on A Real American Hero. Dawn Moreno was once a gifted high school athlete whose unique physical abilities drew the attention of Cobra Commander. Recruited as a Cobra soldier, Dawn was immediately put under intense experimentation by the Cobra elite in order to see just how valuable she could be to their nefarious plans. It was during one of these experiments that Dr. Mindbender, utilizing his brainwave scanner, accidentally implanted the memories of the original, and now deceased, Snake Eyes into Dawn's fragile teenage mind, pushing the girl to her mental limit and driving her to flee on her own. Now, as a haunted Dawn struggles against visions of a dark past that does not truly belong to her, Snake Eyes' longtime ninja comrades from the Arashikage clan, led by Granny Demon, have joined together to help Dawn overcome the walking nightmare her young life has become. Okay, so that's not really Last Time an American Hero. I suppose it is a bit. It is, I guess it's giving us the Dawn history so far, because you're going to possibly need to know all that for what's coming in if you're jumping in as now. So kind of a good precursor to what's going on. But this 5 issues, chuck us out the actual kind of plot summary of what's going on here.
Plot breakdown.
Okay, so boiling it right down. After a bloody attack by red ninjas at the amusement park, Dawn is tracked by Detective Harada. She takes the fight to the Red Ninja Dojo, but comes face to face with Firefly. Firefly flees on the rooftop of a train, with Dawn in pursuit, followed by a team of Joes. The confrontation concludes when Zartan, posing as the Softmaster, grapples with Firefly and they fall off the train into the river below. The Joes take Dawn back with them, telling her that she has a place on the team once she completes her basic training. So that's a real Cliff Notes, right boiled down of the 5 issues. A whole lot of things happening in the detail there.
Yeah, we'll jump into the details, but that's like I say, this is kind of changes, because previously we've seen Larry covering 2, 3, 4 subplots across a single issue, which is why the plot summaries have been quite vast previously, because he's covering a lot of issues. Here, like you said, it is kind of just one train of a storyline that's running through without much there are no other subplots really going on. It is just
not
what's
too
happening
much
with Dawn
deviation apart from that main story.
Okay, let's dig into the nuggets then with the talking points.
Talking points.
Right, so straight off the bat, we can see that Diaz is going for... Let's talk about the art straight off. Diaz is going for a different art style. I'm not familiar with the guy to know if this is his usual style or if he's adapted it for this story. Are you aware of the guy? Were you aware of his work before he took on this book?
Yeah, so I think this was probably his most... has his biggest profile work to date. He's sort of still, I guess, a relatively new artist to the world of comics at this point. He'd done a few books. I can't remember exactly what he's done off the top of my head, but it was this is probably his highest profile work, and not necessarily with a huge body of work behind him at this point. So I think that this is his go-to style, but it being probably the most high-profile work that he's done, that I'm sure he's really wanting to make a splash and make a good impression, so that the fans recognise that him as an emerging talent, and also to IDW that they'll want to give him more work by making that good first impression with his early work. Yeah.
So, it's a very superhero-ish style, I think.
It's got a much more kind of modern superhero book look to it. And I was put in mind of, who you compare it to, and possibly someone like Mike Deodato Jr. In terms of kind of, the level of detail that he's putting in the page. Because when you think of the G.I. Joe art, for the most part, from the team that we've had with S.L. Gallant and a lot of those iconic artists beforehand, like Trimpy and like Rod Wiggum, a lot they've got very precise, clear storytelling technique, which doesn't involve a lot of over rendering, so not lots of for example, cross hatching and going really super into the details. It's very about precise line work to kind of show the composition. someone like Rod Wiggum also quite often will sort of pare back the backgrounds right back, or even, you know, a character in the foreground might be just complete silhouette or something like that. It's very much sort of it to service clarity of storytelling without being flashy.
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. Yep.
And yeah, this is a more of a sort of modern looking style with flashier kind of splash type poses of an action book, and sort of not just that the layout of the panels and so on is far less basic to what we'd be expecting to see employed in a G.I. Joe book. That you don't just have square panel grids. You've got a lot of bleeding from one panel into another. Cut diagonal panels. The character breaking the borders of a panel, and also the way that the art bleeds to the edges of the panel, edges of the page.
Yep.
Rather than it being a white border all the way around a pane. We've got a lot of bleed of the art and the colour to the edge of the page, and where not, it's tended to be black panel borders as opposed to the more typical white panel borders. Yeah. Sorry, there's my rant on the art. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm not overly a fan of it, to be honest. I'm not saying he's a bad artist at all, but for me, it's just a bit too superhero-y. Obviously, I like superhero books, and we know that G.I. Joe, Real American Hero, is turning a bit superhero-y with the storylines that we're getting, but it just felt that, I don't know, it's a bit more palatable when Gallant's doing the drawing, even if it is a bit wacky storylines. Here, I don't know, I'm just getting full-place splashes of Dawn mercilessly chopping up red ninjas. I don't know, it's not for me. It's not really my thing. Lots of off-kilter camera angles.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
You know, just, I don't know, it's like I say, not for me. Not bad, but you know, I wouldn't be rushing to read Nitho Diaz. And again, no offense to him, but he's never gonna get me to buy a book with his name on it. Like, you know, there's a new book out, it's drawn by Nitho Diaz. Okay, fine, that's not a draw for me.
Sure. And I think that the art, there's more going on, and there's more sort of trying to make every page sort of almost a page that an art collector might want to buy, in terms of it having a lot of like a splash action and that kind of thing going on.
You mean like your brother?
Like my brother, who seems to have bought an obscene amount of Nitho Diaz pages, and I can see the appeal, because quite often what a page that services the story more will be a lot more simple and pared back, and it will help with understanding what's happening in the story, also, and the flow of the story, but maybe less appealing as an individual page to to buy as an art collector, or to just look at purely in its own aesthetic kind of terms. Yeah,
and also, like you said, if Diaz is trying to make a name for himself, he's probably going to go all out a bit more and make every page a bit more special to show, look, Marvel, DC, no disrespect to IDW, but you know, come and hire me on for your X-Men book or something.
Absolutely, and it's actually worth calling out that we've got Nitho Diaz here on the pencils, but we've also got a brand new art team on the inks and on the colours, and those are also going to be very different jobs, because Brian Shearer's sort of role as an inker was, I think, really to just tighten up what was on the page already from S.L. Gallant, but you know, there isn't a huge amount of necessarily complex shading going on, whereas with, I think, Nitho Diaz pencil work, there's a lot more intricacy there, which is going to probably need a slightly more considered approach to how it's interpreted. It's not going to be a simple matter of just drawing over the top of an existing line. There's going to be probably slightly more decision making need to be happening. And on the colours, we shifted from Jay Brown's colours to the new chap, which is Milan Parvanov, and and there's also a striking difference to the colouring, which is that they've gone, I guess, for a bit more of almost a painterly look. It is it's a less a kind of
a bit more pastel-y, isn't it? Kind
yeah,
of muted colours.
Yeah. So yeah, slightly more muted. Yeah, you're probably right there, but also sort of more sort of textures, for example, to the kind of colour palette. It's a different colouring style for sure for what we've been used to for the last little while, and well, probably for almost all of the work that we've seen on G.I. Joe to date. So yeah, quite a deviation from the norm across the art team.
Dig into some of the actual story. So do we like this Harada guy? So there's some sort of excuse me. There's some sort of detective guy who's been sent to look at the case. It turns out he's got a big back history with ninjas and the Arashikage clan, and he is pretty much your one-man exposition force. Because he is telling all the readers and these two police clowns that he's with, giving them all the background and all the info. Do we like him or not?
I tend to like a lot of the background secondary characters that Hammer introduces to the Joe world. I do have a fondness for those sort of non-toy based, team based characters that are introduced into his world. I think I do tend to enjoy them. There is an awful lot of exposition going on there, and some interesting jumps in logic there that Harada makes as well, which are at times a little bit odd.
Yeah, I mean, he's talking about working out that it was a girl and she's killed 3 with one sword stroke. I mean, this is nothing new to the world of G.I. Joe comics, I guess, with detective work having gone on with some of the characters working out how someone was killed and all that kind of stuff. Nothing in comics in general.
The deductions that he makes, and you kind of work out as the story progresses that some of them aren't pure deductions just from looking at the evidence on the ground, but from what he knows about the ninja world.
Yeah, well, he mentions at some point. Let me just get my pad of notes here. One of the police guys says something like, "The government's using ninjas," and he goes something like, how else do you think things are getting done?"
Very good. One of his deductions that I liked was, or sort of observations on the crime scene, was that he said, "You can clearly see the indentation on the side of the head made from a clasp of a Prada bag."
That might feature later in my favourite line of dialogue.
Oh no,
that's good. That's all right. That's fine. Yeah, lots of flashbacks being told here, because what's actually happening here, Dawn... So last we saw, Dawn was kind of doing that troupe. She was with that ninja troupe doing displays on stage. And now she's buggered off with Granny. And
it's like it's kind of a jump cut, isn't it?
Yeah.
On the previous cliffhanger, the ninjas were about to attack. And now we've jumped right to the aftermath.
Yeah, and I'm still... am I stupid? I guess. But what's the play here for Dawn and Granny? I'm just not sure what's happening. Like, what's the end game? What are they up to?
So Dawn has been at the amusement park being trained by Granny. They've been attacked by these red ninjas, and I guess Dawn has gone full berserker, probably Snake Eyes mode, in defending them and leaving the carnage behind in the wake. And then I guess the subsequent play is to kind of figure out what has happened, here. Why have they been attacked, and how can they almost meet their revenge? And so Dawn is able to get some intel from pickpocketing the police to then pursue down the base of the attackers, which is where she then goes and metes out some vengeance against that second lot of
And meanwhile, Harada has got some secret file which contains all the names and addresses and everything and locations of these red ninjas, and he gets pickpocketed by Dawn, am I right? And
dressed up as a sort of Pokemon bear thing.
That's right. And so then he's all worried, and a couple of things stuck out to me here. He's like, there's no point in changing the password. They'll have got into this file long before we can do that. And I'm thinking, wait a minute, you just get your phone up, you log into your account, and you hit password reset button. So,
I thought exactly the same.
You could easily do that.
And it's literally just happened, It takes time to find, for Dawn to be able to break into it and do all that.
And my other thing was, surely Granny or the rest of the team, her Rashikage people, they'd have all this information anyway. They would know about the red ninjas.
Yeah, I guess you'd think that. I guess that would make sense because ninjas know everything already anyway. But yeah,
I guess it's another way to show how sneaky Dawn is, and to kind of definitely get Harada on her case, so to speak.
But the speed of time for Harada to kind of surrender on that issue is, you'd think that he wasn't Japanese, that he would be French.
Yes.
Surely.
There's other Joes in this book. There's a team of Stalker, Scarlet, Snake Eyes. Who else is there? Rock and Roll. A couple of other people. Grunt is there. And
Grunt.
Yeah.
And what's Grunt doing back on the team?
Don't know. I thought he'd retired.
Someone, please let me know if there has been an explanation of why Grunt would be back on the team. But we saw him in that hostage. He got taken as a hostage and then was rescued by the Joes. But I don't remember him saying that he wanted to join the Joes.
No.
Back at the end of it, that would seem a bit illogical. Yeah, he was he's an engineer or something, wasn't he?
Yeah.
So.
What's their mission? Wild Bill's choppering them in somewhere, and they're doing what? We see they're just killing bad guys.
This is just a bit of a random side plot, really, isn't it? It's, I think, just an excuse to have Sean Collins looking badass. They're on a mission just to take down some somewhere in the Middle East, some cell of terrorists, and Snake Eyes just bursts in and sort of looks completely badass and takes them all down.
And it's not like we needed that. I suppose that's the reason for it, because they do show up later in the last issue. They jump on the space shuttle and hot-foot it over to Japan because they're needed to kind of quell or
support the
Dawn mission, because now what happened to Dawn, she's been confronted by Firefly out of nowhere.
Yeah, there we go. He's with the rest of the red ninja renegade wonks. Yeah.
I'm just flicking through his issues. It's very violent, some of this stuff.
There is. This is one of my bullet points, was that the level of gore and blood in these issues is, I think, nothing like we've seen in the Joe books before. There is an awful lot of gore, an awful lot of blood. Yep. There's a bit where this is 248 where
is this a silent issue 248?
Is it which way around is it? Is it the? I think it's the
silent issue.
Yeah, 248 is a silent issue.
Okay,
And it has a big segment as well, which is a flashback to the original silent issue. But it's in this issue, and dig it out to have a look at this. There's a segment where Dawn. This is actually right in the middle of the book. Yep. Dawn slices through two red ninjas at the same time. One sword in each hand and one ninja on each sword. Yep. And then a big explosive goes off, and she uses these ninjas that have been impaled as a meat shield to defend herself from shield herself from the grenade that's going off in front of her. Yeah. It's that is pretty hardcore.
Yeah. And on the last page of that issue, Firefly shows up. He's got a very small rocket launcher in his hand. It looks very undersized, but anyway.
I think the scale of that one, it sort of comes and goes a little bit. At certain times, I think some of Nitho's kind of scaling, some of the kind of details of these things kind of goes a little bit wonky.
Yeah. And are we led to believe that Dawn is seeking revenge on Firefly? Because when they confront, Firefly says the Arashikage must be desperate if they are sending little girls after me, and Dawn says they didn't send me, I came on my own, I came to settle a score. So I assume that's Snake Eyes talking, the original Snake Eyes V1 talking, to settle what score? Just the long running ninja feud that they've had since back in the Marvel days.
It's a little bit clear to me. So it could be one of a few things going on. So it could be that she's deduced that it's Firefly is the guy behind the Red Ninja attack in the amusement park.
Yep.
And as kind of the brains behind that operation, she's coming back to get revenge. It could be something to do potentially with the Soft Master and getting revenge for that. But then there's also got this dialogue a bit later on where Dawn says, "I know what you did at the Sword Shrine. You have to pay for that." And I'm not sure if that's something that we know what that is.
Yes.
He says, there's only one person who knew about that, and that kind of thing.
Yeah. Even Larry doesn't know. But
yeah.
And
it might be that this is a reference that I should be getting, but I can't for the life of me think what.
And then
it's meant to be.
Firefly's got to confront. He's got a gun, and he says, "Now I'm going to have to kill you." And Dawn says, "As soon as I see your finger tighten on the trigger, you'll be dead before you hit the floor." But she's going to kill him anyway. So why is she almost giving him a option to not fire the gun? Because if he doesn't fire the gun, she's going to kill him. If he fires the gun, she's going to kill him. I don't understand.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Not sure. Yeah.
The big fight ensues here, and then he's got some crazy drone thing.
Oh, this is the robotic drone tank, little mini tank thing that sort of is honing in on Dawn, and she's using him as a shield to stop getting shot by it. Yeah.
But she deduces that so it can't shoot through you to get to me, kind of a problem. And he says, you can't keep me between me and the drone forever. I don't intend to. I'll bet that thing is only programmed to recognise you visually. So your value as a shield is not dependent on you being alive, is it? Oh.
Yeah. Kill him at that point.
Yeah. Yeah. What's she waiting for? She's come for revenge. Why is she not killing him?
Yeah, and it's not like she's not fast enough to, because she's established.
She's dispatched about 100 red ninjas already.
Yeah, and she's faster than his trigger finger to be able to slice him apart. So
I really struggled here. I almost skim read the last part of this issue without actually reading it fully.
Yeah, I think particularly the silent issue, it's very easy to very quickly sort of flick through it. I kind of went back and basically read it twice. I went once to just read it, and then the second time to sort of start making a few notes.
Actually, the Black Major shows up here, doesn't he? Meanwhile, in Darklonia.
That's right. Yeah. So at
that.
The back of 249, they're tying up that thread in Darklonia. So we were left on that cliffhanger with the team that were in Darklonia. The shield doors had come down, and they sort of just tie that up on a single page, I think, is it, or just very, very briefly, where they say they get back inside. The Black Major get back inside and says, "Oh, they've escaped." So it's almost like Larry's like, I can't be bothered to wrap up this part, and we're already a couple of issues into this new 5-parter, and I've forgotten to resolve that previous cliffhanger. Maybe let's do something with that.
Always nice to see a Techno Viper though. So so redeem himself with that if nothing else. We also get a bit of an explanation as to what's going on with the Red Ninjas, because I think it's always been a little bit confusing as to exactly what the Red Ninjas are really meant to kind of represent. Yes.
So they've got this explanation that they're outcasts, renegades from rival clans, and ostracized former Arashikage. So it's kind of explaining a little bit, and some of that exposition via Harada as well, sort of explaining kind of what the dynamics between the clans and where this rivalry comes from. So maybe a bit of handy exposition.
More flashbacks in the next one to issue 26, is it, or 27? I think, where on the subway.
That's right. Back to Snake Eyes, the origin issues, where they're on the top of the car.
Yep.
And thanks, Joe. Can you hear that?
Yeah, what's that? She hoovering?
It's a nice bit of hoovering. I've got a sign on my door that says "recording, no sounds, please."
Legend at work, have you?
Yeah. Sorry.
Legend at work.
Yeah, genius happening inside.
Yes.
But yeah, the silent issue flashback was quite interesting. I think that's a 4-page flashback in there, and I actually put the books side by side, and it's an almost 4-page panel by panel retelling of issue 2021, but with slightly different camera angles, and also obviously in the Nitho Diaz style. So yeah, that was sort of interesting to see, and it was utterly faithful as well. So not telling us anything new, but I guess it's sort of scratching a real nostalgia itch, and it's sort of reshowing that classic issue in a modern kind of art style as well.
Yep.
Did you pick up there was a use of the word wonks again? Larry does this thing where he has a favourite expression, and then he'll ram it in quickly in as many issues, several times in the space of a few issues. This time we had Puzzle Palace wonks. Puzzle Palace being the National Security Agency. The other thing was that I shot across on WhatsApp last night some of the Hammer sketches that he'd done as part of the scripting for this. So we'll put those on the socials. But it's an interesting part that when Larry's doing his scripting, if there's a particular way that he's visualizing something, he'll sometimes just sketch it out as a kind of an appendix to his script, so that the artist can kind of really properly follow the way that Larry is visualizing these things. So he did quite a few pages for these ones. One of them was the Snake Eyes bit where he's on that mission. He throws his guns up in the air, grabs some ammo clips off his belt, holds them out, and then they slip into the weapons. Interesting behind the scenes stuff there.
Yeah. The Joes have got a secret weapon on this.
Yeah, and this is what threw me. I had to read this a couple of times to actually understand what was going on.
Well, they arrive and they got Budo in there, and they're like, "We've got a secret weapon." He's like, "Yeah." And so I was like, "Okay, Budo, what's he going to do? He's got some secret connection to Dawn or the Arashikage that we haven't found out yet, and he's going to reveal some hidden knowledge that's going to help diffuse the situation." And then he doesn't really appear again, but then suddenly the Softmaster turns up.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wait a minute, have they resurrected him? Is he like a clone or something? Or was he actually not dead and he is here? I'm like, wow, this is, Larry's digging in the well deep here. And then, of course, it's actually Zartan.
Yeah. I got to the end of 250 first time round and thought, hold on, what was this big thing with Budo? He's not appeared at all. Why was Budo so important? It was only on the second rereading that I realised that Budo was actually Zartan all along, and it was just a way of having us not realise who Zartan was posing.
Because had they have put Zartan in the chopper and said Zartan's our secret weapon, the Softmaster bit would have been, okay, that's Zartan. There's
much less surprising.
No intrigue there. Had they have put the Softmaster in the chopper, saying he's our secret weapon, then that kind of, I don't know, bit telltale. But having Budo and then Softmaster, Larry's just trying to throw everyone off the scent.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And it worked.
It worked, yeah.
Almost entirely, to the point of me not understanding what was going on at all. But correct. I got there. Anything else you want to talk about in this one from a talking points point of view? Yeah, the only one was I had an "Am I stupid?" moment.
Am I stupid?
And that was that towards the end of it, I think particularly, they act like Sean has never met Dawn before.
Right.
Whereas they were, that whole sequence where they were underneath the Springfield Centre and then back at the Dreadnoks garage after being, escaping, that they were together at that point. So, that sort of dynamic where it seems like Sean's never quite encountered Dawn before seems a little bit strange, but not a major issue. The other thing that I noticed was that for most of this, I think they're sort of saying that Snake Eyes is in charge of Dawn, and they kind of make the point that Dawn as Snake Eyes is silent and almost dialogue free, and actually when she says guns, at one point when she's just sort of roughed up the Yakuza sort of people when she's gone to sort of get the guns out of their back room.
Yep.
It's said in a very raspy voice, sort of, I guess, emphasising that Snake Eyes isn't used to speaking, and so finds it difficult to speak even through Dawn's functioning larynx or whatever. But then in subsequent issues, I guess probably from 249 onwards, she's very chatty in terms of the dynamic with Firefly and everyone else. So I don't know whether that's a kind of intentional thing of sort of saying that almost Dawn and Snake Eyes are fusing in terms of becoming a single personality, that there's a lot of the Dawn personality, but then a lot of the Snake Eyes memories and skill set there too, or whether it was just an overthought and that Larry forgot that he was trying to make Dawn entirely mute.
Yes, yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah. No, good spots. Let's just hit us up with our favourite bit of scripting. Okay, so my one, we've already covered. It was Harada when he says, you can clearly see the indentation on the side of the head made from the clasp of a Prada bag, and I would bet that Prada bag was weighted with a brick. What have you got for us?
I went for this one. Snake Eyes has only got one setting, max.
Yeah, max
Short and
what?
sweet.
Max, yeah, max. All max power, yeah.
To the max. Bodacious.
Good stuff. But any little gems you came across here?
I spy with my little eye.
Yeah, so I guess my general thought was probably, I suspect with sort of Shannon moving on from the book, and I think his general sort of mischievousness and playfulness, we'll probably see a few less of those Easter eggs in the background and things like that. But we did. There was one scene where the cosplayers were sort of getting their lunch in the amusement park canteen in issue 247, where there was a little scene of various cosplayers dressed up as different things. So there was the bear suit that Dawn had, which was sort of Pikachu inspired. There was a Mario, a Power Ranger, a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle, and a few other characters there that I didn't really recognise, as I don't think I'm familiar enough with the anime stuff that they were based on. The other one was one of my favourites, Stop! Hammer Time!
Yep.
So that was when Firefly is fighting with Dawn on top of the train, and he says, "What now, girlie? You're going to beat the soles of my boots with your face?"
Yep.
And a nice re-emergent of that favourite joke of Larry's.
Yep. Very good. Okay, well, let's round out the issue with a bit of this. Who is the MVP? Most valuable person in these issues? Who is the MVP? Is it a Cobra Joe or the enemy? The good guys are the Joes, now show counter-terrorist force, but hush, it's on the down low. Pages of this book, go have a look. We're searching for guys or gals that have the hook. The hook of being the best thing in the story, chomping up scenes, front and center allegory. And let's not forget about those cats named Cobra, sipping Dom Perignon. Are you sure they're sober? Brainwave Scanner is back, gonna be messing. Big CC and Destro teach a lesson. Talking valuable, can we talk the dreadnoughts, grape soda, chocolate donuts, and then the jukebox? Who is the MVP? Most valuable person in these issues? Who is the MVP? Is it a Cobra Joe or the enemy? Okay, MVP. Is it possible to select someone who went above and beyond the call of duty to win your vote, sir? Who you got?
I think I'm going to go with Red Ninja 37 and 38, who were used as kebabs to protect Dawn from explosions.
Very good. I like it. Good stuff. I think no one really was like, this person's doing fantastic stuff here. I thought the Firefly appearance was pretty lame. I'm not a massive Dawn fan anyway. I might go with Harada just for his unrelenting knowledge of all things ninja. So yeah, there you go. We can't leave this storyline without giving it a Yo-Joage, and shall I go first? I'm going first.
Yeah, you go first. Go on.
And this four Yo-Joes. You will find this somewhere near the bottom of all the G.I. Joe comics I've ever read, I think.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, I find it quite difficult to Yo-Jo this one, because I quite like the fresh start that it brings. I do like Nitho Diaz's art, although I see the pros and the cons with it, and I think that some of the clarity of storytelling is slightly overshadowed by some of the flashiness of it.
Yep.
But yeah, it was a 5-issue arc, and it felt almost like a 1-issue story in parts. So I think depending on my mood, I could rank this anywhere from a 5 to almost a high 7. I don't know. Let's say 6.
Yeah. Okay. All right. 6 from the Funky Bunch. Next week, episode 99. We've got 5 special mission one-offs coming up. What do you think we should cover next week? Should we cover 3 of them, do you think? 5's probably too many. I think to do 5 individual one-offs is probably too many to do on one episode. So should we do 3?
Let's try for that. Go on.
Let's try for that. We might end up doing, if they're really in depth, we might end up doing 2, but make sure you read the first 3, so 251 to 253, and we'll cover either 2 or 3 of those next week. And then, of course, the following week, episode 100, just to put you in the picture, we're getting the whole gang back together. All the hosts of Talking Joe in its illustrious 2 years of production will be on the show. We're not going to be talking of any specific comics, so don't worry about that. It's going to be general chit chat, but we will also be discussing G.I. Joe the movie, animated style. So we'll be discussing that amongst other stuff. So stay tuned for that in 2 weeks' time. But right now, I want to hear about some G.I. Joe toys, and you're the man to tell me about them. Mark talks about toys, ho ho. He talks about G.I. Joe. He talks about all the toys from the comic book and the animated show. Mark talks about toys. Mark talks about toys.
Okay, so who are you guessing I want to talk about today?
I was thinking we might have already had Firefly, but I'm going to put him as a possible because you have covered some stuff that other guys have covered before. So Firefly's a possible. I'm going to go real super left field, and there's no collusion here. So if I get it right, it is pure chief skill. I'm going for Budo.
So those answers are very interesting.
Okay.
Because that was almost precisely my thought process.
Really?
I thought Firefly would be my number 1 pick.
Yeah.
But I think he's been covered, so I should probably go Budo, because I don't think he has been covered, and he's quite a cool figure. But you didn't. But I prefer Firefly, so I'm just going to talk about him anyway.
Okay, good. Firefly in general, or are you talking about V1?
I'm going to talk about V1.
Okay.
Yeah. So Firefly V1 was he was series 3 from 1984, and yeah, we've seen him come back in a few different guises. There has been, by Yo-Jo's count, 28 different versions of Firefly. We've obviously had the version 2 and 3 hideous neon green, which Chris likes so much. And then they had him, over the next few releases, it was essentially much the same classic Firefly look with from the version 1 in slightly different colorings, and then sort of in the modern sort of 25th anniversary style and whatnot. But yeah, I am going to be talking about Firefly version 1. Is it a figure that you had or have?
Yeah, I've got that. I've got the Firefly. I've still got my original version 1. No thumbs on either hand, I don't think.
No,
I do have his backpack. I don't have his gun.
I went and bought a few of the vintage figures myself, and Firefly was as one that I've re-picked up, and actually my version is missing both of his fingers as well. So I suspect that might be a common issue with him. He does, have that backpack. You said you've got the backpack, right?
Got the backpack, yes, not the gun.
That comes with a little removable
Correct.
hatch
Got
from
that,
the backpack as well, which I imagine sort of probably goes. And then he had a walkie-talkie as well. Which
did he? Okay.
Again, imagine is often one of those little annoying things that can get lost very easily. He had a very cool gun. So it's like a submachine gun with a sort of a nice little grip on there, and that sort of front end to it with sort of, I guess, the ventilation holes that are in it. Whether that's meant to be silenced or not, I'm not entirely sure. But yeah, very, very cool looking gun, which they've sort of tried to include in a lot of the guises. And actually, there was a nice bust statuette done of Firefly as well.
Okay.
In that modern in the original V1 look to him, again with that classic classic gun that he's got, which I'm looking out for. I've got quite a few of those statues, and that's one that I would very much like to add to my collection at some point.
I'm actually selling a Palisades Zartan statue and a Crimson Guard statue. I know you got your eye on the Zartan one.
You gotta let me know what you decide on for that. And
so once I get a price, Funky Bunch has got first dibs, and then if he declines, it will go out to the open market. But the Crimson Guard for sale. Anyone out there wants pictures or either of those statues, wants to buy them, hit me up on the socials. Anyway, back to Firefly.
So who is this guy then? So his file name's classified, his birthplace is classified, his speciality is sabotage, demolitions and terror. No one knows what Firefly's real name is or what he looks like. He is known by his work. Expert in all NATO and Warsaw Pact explosives and detonators. Always places his charges in the one place that affords maximum damage. There is no question about his infiltration skills, since no one has ever reported seeing him enter or leave any target area. Even Cobra Commander doesn't know much about Firefly. His fees are paid into a numbered Swiss bank account and are always payable in advance. He makes no guarantees and gives no refunds. Very cool, very mysterious sort of character from the file card. The figure itself is just, utterly, can I say, perfect?
Yeah.
It's it would definitely be in my top 5 G.I. Joe figures all time. I love the design of the characters, that sort of grey camo, the little touch of the fire of the Cobra insignia, the little roll neck top to him, his sort of moulded pouches and grenades. Nice textures all over him, and it's sort of that sort of balance of being a very simplistic look, but also lots of little fine details in there. And in the world of comics, in Battle Action Force, which is where I first read about Firefly, he had some quite cool sort of solo stories, really sort of playing up that sort of saboteur aspect of his specialization, where he is that mysterious guy sort of sneaking in, laying the explosives, and sort of the Joes trying to foil him, and him being a real threat. In the pages of the Marvel run, he was being much less of a solo threat through most of it. So he was a bit of a secondary character when he was first introduced. He was sort of in the swamps with Wild Weasel, being chased down by the Joes. Then he was just a passenger on the back of the ferret quad bike when Scrap Iron blew up the Softmaster and Co. in that car. And then there was a few appearances here and there, but very secondary, really. And then until he was then kind of revealed as having that ninja background, at which point, it was portrayed with a bit of a almost sort of comedic, kind of buffoonish personality in places. So I've always felt a little bit disappointed in terms of how he's being portrayed in the Real American Hero book. And sort of where how he's being shown in these issues is a little bit closer to kind of how I'd like him to be seen, which is in the classic look and sort of quite a badass kind of sort of personality, ruthlessness to him. and he's appeared in some of the other continuity as well. He's been in the pages of the Devil's Due. Berkey sort of had quite a big storyline in the pages of the Cobra book, and so on. So there's other places you can kind of look to find maybe a slightly more ruthless saboteur Firefly.
Yeah, good
there
stuff.
we go. There's my rant. And it sort of what's your take?
Yeah, big fan of, especially from a character point of view, those early appearances. You know, especially the All Fall Down stuff, and up until he becomes ninja-fied, you know, fantastic. And then his, like you said, his in the IDW Cobra book, where they've taken him back to the grey, back to his saboteur mould. You know, he's pretty vicious and ruthless in that run. And figure-wise, this first figure, I always wondered if the head was slightly undersized. I don't think it is, but just my perception. But this figure, for me, very loose joints means it's got a lot of play. You know, a couple of I think he had a broken pelvis as well as no, I think it's one thumb broken, the pelvis broke. But I'm surprised I kept hold of the backpack with the little front covering, and that didn't get lost. But
I think it's quite tight, so that helps. It's not just going to wobble off.
But yeah, no, great figure, top 10 for me as well, all time. I think we're on the same page there. So yeah, love the Firefly. Right, more toys next week, but we're changing pace because we're going over here, and I'm going to try and not offend Richard Straw.
You're listening to Talking Joe, and now for something completely different.
The Star Wars galaxy sure has a lot of playgrounds. Jedi Knights, evil Sith, bounty hunters, all doing the rounds. But there's a guy so cool, the Mandalorian. Now expand your mind and be a Star Wars historian. It's 10-Minute Mando. He's chasing a star. It's 10-Minute Mando. He loves Beskar. It's 10-Minute Mando in a galaxy far, far away. That's right. It is. The clock has started. It is Mando Madness Season 2, Episode 2. And what's this one called? Passenger. I think I know this one's called Passenger.
It is. Chapter 10.
That's
The
it.
Passenger. Directed by Peyton Reed of Ant-Man fame. And written by Jon Favreau.
Right. It's kind of more the same from the first episode of this season, in that it's not progressing the story, the overarching storyline much. I think we're probably on a path of him just wandering around the galaxy now with the kid in tow, very much lone wolf and cub style. So as long as you're on board with that and you're not wanting to rush to the end, then you'll probably find a lot to like here. And I think it was okay. I enjoyed... I'll get the stuff I didn't like out of the way first of all. So I like the few comedy elements where he's got the woman, I can't think what her character's called, and she's doing the translating for the lizard woman and Mando, and she's kind of doing all those sound effects. All that was quite funny.
Very good.
She's going off to meet her husband, who's set up like a new life for her on another system. She's got all her eggs in a jar. The bit I didn't really get was the kid likes eating these eggs. Yeah,
he does.
And they kept doing it. He's looking at the jar and he's sneaking them, and Mando's telling them off. They kept up this running theme so much through the episode. I was like, wow, this is going to go somewhere. He's going to eat them all. She's going to kill him. Something bad's going to happen. He's going to eat one. It's going to sprout out of his gut or something. But nothing actually happened. It was just pointless.
Well,
it just didn't go anywhere.
Frog Lady's still on board the ship, so who knows?
Okay,
we
right,
might,
of course. I suppose, yes.
It's got room to play out still.
Okay, fine. But I just thought it was very weird storytelling. It felt like they're trying to cram a lot into 36 minutes. And I spoke to S-Jubs, and he goes, maybe it's a play on the Return of the Jedi, where Chewie gets the meat, and they get up in the Ewok trap. Great, Chewie, always thinking with your stomach.
He also eats the porgs as well in Episode 8 as well. Chewie does. So,
right.
Got one of those little bird creature things on the spit. But yeah, that the child in its disturbing desire to eat these unborn frogs after the frog lady has literally put all of her eggs in one basket.
This poor frog lady. Yeah.
She's sort of explained that her she and her husband had only creatures left from her species, and they're on the brink of extinction. So this is her one opportunity to not let her species die out. So not only is the child having a weird frog spawn snacky treat, but he's also in some ways maybe committing genocide.
Yeah, but we've seen this kid not really have a moral compass, because he's witnessed some horrific stuff and not really stepped in. We've seen him use his force power maybe once or twice, where that Mudhorn, the creature,
right. Yeah,
where I think it's episode 2, isn't it, of season 1, where he's going to get the egg that the Jawas love, Mando, and he's about to get trampled, and the kid holds this Mudhorn up in the air, and he's used it to protect Mando. But where the hell was he protecting Mando on all these other occasions where he's under fire and stuff?
Yeah, a lot of the times it's just
I think flaky storytelling. But yeah, so then really nice to see X-Wing pilots. That beginning scene where they're kind of escorting him in, really liked all that. They're asking for his ID and get him on the comm system and all that kind of stuff. Really good. Then he nice sort of pitched flying battle through the clouds. Dumps the craft in the ice cave stuff, really cool. And then all these spiders come along. At first I was like, what is all this about? But it took on a real kind of horror vibe. Maybe this is, obviously we just had Halloween, this was the closest episode. I suppose episode 1 was the closest to Halloween, but you're not going to maybe have that as the opening episode. But kind of a good horror vibe with all these spiders. I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah, and when the child was first looking at those eggs and they're all opening up, there's a massive alien vibe to it, right? Of those
face
eggs
huggers
opening up and the sort of the facehuggery type creatures inside.
Yeah, it was interesting. I mean, I think I liked the episode. I didn't dislike it at all, but I'm still not 100% on board, I don't think. But,
okay, yeah. I mean, I think I'm in a similar place that it's sort of it's fun, but I think you've got to sort of take it as being as not worrying too much about the overall arc. That some episodes it's just going to be that they have an adventure, they land, they come to a new place, they do something, they go on to the next place, and it's not necessarily going to always move it ahead too far. So it's sort of the journey, not the destination.
Yeah. I think I've worked out
like that littlest hobo, I think I'll get to the end of the episode. Damn it, that dog still hasn't got home. Or whatever.
I think I've worked out possibly that it's the fact that the main character just doesn't have enough to him. It's just like, because he's faceless, it's just, I don't know, there's not enough personality in the Mando, even though I suppose he is showing different traits and things. I don't know, it's difficult, because whilst the character remains behind a mask, it's for me it's difficult, but then part of me thinks I don't want him unmasked, because then it becomes like you see with a lot of the superhero movies and stuff, the characters don't stay in masks for the whole movie because they have to appeal to a wide range of viewers and audience members, and people want to see people's faces, and
also the actors, they want to show off their faces.
Yeah,
as well.
They're marketable. This is my I want to market myself here, my visage. But I don't know. It's like I don't care enough about the character of the Mandalorian, I don't think.
Yeah, it's almost, he'd almost be like a good computer game character in terms of him being an avatar that you can project yourself onto, because there's not a huge amount of personality there existing that you know.
Yeah, I had a good chat with S-Jubs this morning about this episode, and he sent me an audio message, and I might just play it now, which is quite interesting, about the spiders.
What do you think of episode 2 of season 2 of Mando? I freaking love those spiders. I know it's a return to the Masters of the Universe, Monster of the Week kind of story writing, but that spider demon creature, just like the Krayt Dragon, has its origins in Ralph. Jesus, I've just woken up too. Ralph McQuarrie sketches. except it's not native to Tatooine or to any kind of ice planet. Those spider creatures are native to Dagobah, and get this, they roam around feeding on things, and then ultimately they plant themselves like the roots of trees and actually become these fossilized tree-like structures on Dagobah. So the theory is Luke probably waltzed past a few of those creatures that had subsequently, I don't know, cocooned or transformed from a living walking spider creature to a rooted tree-like structure.
Yeah, so that was it. That's interesting. I didn't know any of that stuff.
Yeah, I'd picked up that the design originated as an unused concept by Ralph McQuarrie for Star Wars Episode 4, Star Wars Episode 5, Empire Strikes Back, which would make sense, I guess, if they were originally going to be part of Dagobah, as S. Jubs says. But I think the creatures are called Krykna. And this isn't actually the first time they've been seen on screen, because they were in Rebels as well. So Star Wars Rebels, they were on an episode called The Mystery of Chopper Base, where I think they were similar, not too different to this. I think they were sort of like living in caves and sort of bit of a sort of strange lurking presence. And if I remember correctly, the Ezra there sort of was trying to use the Force to kind of communicate with them. But yeah, here there's a bit more of an out and out kind of horror beastie, monster of the week, trying to chase them down like a giant kind of alien queen, or a giant beastie off of Starship Troopers, that kind of thing. Yeah. And Mando's ship, it can take a hell of a pounding and keep going, can't it?
I mean, all he had to do to fix it was just fix the windscreen up.
Yeah, just get a bit of plastic, tape it over, and away you go. Space travel. Bing!
Yeah, easy pickings. So they're going to limp somewhere. He said we're going to limp to some sort of way station for the next episode to get it fully repaired or something like that. Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. X-Wing pilots coming back to help him out. Were you on board with? They've kind of gone off script there a bit, and they'd heard that the Mando had kind of left those bounty hunters or tied up on the prison ship, and had made a concerted effort to keep the fleet trooper alive. So they're kind of coming back to do him a good turn and rescue him from spider monsters. Is that okay? Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, sort of. Yeah, so they sort of see that he's he while he's on the wanted list, that he has kind of done some good and helped out that guy and sort of done in some of the other baddies, and maybe in a perfect world they would bring him in for his crimes, but they're not living but they are not living in a perfect world. They're still in the aftermath of the Empire falling, and the universe is in a bit of chaos. Yeah. So they'll let it slide. So yeah, good. But did you notice there that one of the X-Wing pilots was Dave Filoni returning as the same character that we saw in the previous appearance in Chapter 6, The Prisoner?
I did not know. No.
Well, there he is. Did you know that Dave Filoni was in the episode? Yeah. There he was. And apparently he's got a name accredited to him. Trapper Wolf.
Right. Trapper Wolf. Your time is up. We might see you later. But that is all we've got time for on the 10-minute Mando. Overall, give it a mark out of 10 for me. Give me some Mando madness.
Probably a lower scoring episode for me. It's still enjoyable, still good, but I'll go 6 on this one in terms of my overall, to put it towards the bottom of my list of the episodes, which I have enjoyed them all. To be
all right. Whether or not we will discuss we'll do episode 3 next week. Whether we'll do episode 4 on episode 100 of Talking Joe, I don't know. We'll talk to the guys. Might as well, I suppose. See what they think. Okay. So, more Mando madness next week. But right now, we'll close the show out with some questions that we asked you, that you gave us answers to, and then a new question that we're going to put to you for next week. Something like that. Anyway, take it away, Funky Bunch.
Okay, we asked you a question. You've been the listener of the show, and we being me and Chief, and you must answer us now. Ow.
Yeah. And it was something about comics, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah, basically we asked you what comics you reading.
Yeah, what comics you're reading? If outside of the G.I. Joe world, what's your monthly pull list like? If you're still one of those reading the floppies, and if not, what's on your back issue list that you're reading? You know, just a general. Give us some advice on what we should be reading. So, have you done any research for us there? Have you tabulated the figures and such?
So yeah, we got quite a few answers back. So we won't cover absolutely everyone's answers, but as always, thank you for chiming in. Always useful to have your responses and see what everyone is saying. I thought we might, it's interesting to see what the different social medias where the more of the action might be, because everyone's got their own take. We did get a good set of answers and replies back from across all of the socials, so on our Facebook and on the Insta and on Twitter. But Facebook is often where we see a bit more of the exchange of ideas. So for example, we started talking about DMZ by Brian Wood over on the Facebook group, and what else Brian has written, and if there was any other recommendations of there. We started talking about The Massive, for example, Northlanders, and even Conan as well. So I enjoyed his run on Conan. But it's spurred me on to dig out the Massive, which has been on my bookshelf for a while. So I've started digging into that. So that's a good thing. I've been spurred on by some of that discussion to actually take a book off my shelf and start delving into it.
Good stuff.
Scott Romansky, who's always one of the characters we've got, who will chime in on what we're discussing. He just a big shout out to him. Actually, he sent me in the post very, very kindly. I'd mentioned that I was looking to get some of the G.I. Joe Fun Publications issues that I didn't have, and he said that he had a few spare, and he's popped them in the post. So that stuff. Was absolutely lovely of him. Very kind. He's digging the IDW Transformers and the Danny Ketch era of Ghost Rider, and if I remember correctly, that's an era of Ghost Rider you're into as well, Chief.
No.
Okay, crikey.
I have some Ghost Rider. I've actually got them right now. I think I saw on the Unbound Binds thread a lot of Ghost Rider chat, and I did prepare for one of my first ever binds years and years ago. I've got it here. I'm just taking it out.
Yeah, this is what I'm thinking of. You've definitely got a Ghost Rider bind, haven't you?
No, I haven't. I never did it.
Oh.
So I've got the Rise of the Midnight Suns series. Then there was something else. Whatever that is, and then something else, I don't know, but load of Midnight Massacre crossover thing. So I did collect some. It's got Darkhold, Night Stalkers, Ghost Rider, Blade, and all this to read, having never ever read it. And basically the reason I did was because it had some nice art, some artists I like involved, Ron Garney, Andy Kubert from the 90s on here. So I got it ready to go. I started reading the issues. I was like, this is junk. So I just never bothered binding it. So
so this is something that you picked it up back in the day in like the mid 90s or whatever.
No. I picked it up. I picked it up when I started binding comics.
Ah, okay. With the intent of saying,
with the intent. I'd never read any Ghost Rider prior to that.
Okay. Yeah, but I there's what's his name? Mark Texiera art in that run. And his stuff is always very interesting, very a very unique style and instantly recognisable. Some great work on the Wolverine run as well that he did there that I really enjoyed at the time. So and then we had just an interesting assortment, and we can sort of some of the ones that jumped out were Adventures in the Rifle Brigade, which is Garth Ennis, Carlos Esquerra run. I'm a big fan of Garth Ennis. Sort of read most of his stuff, but I don't think I've ever actually got round to reading that one. So that's an interesting one. Are you an Ennis fan?
Used to be, not anymore. I think he's pretty one note. I think all of his war comics are good, but once you've read one, you've read them all. Hitman I reread recently and did not think it was as good, so I sold it all. as I first read it. No interest in The Boys, never read that. Never read his Demon or Hellblazer.
Okay,
So
interesting.
not particularly, no.
I would recommend Sarah, Sara,
Okay.
by Ennis, which is one of his more recent works, a sort of one and done war story about a Russian sniper.
All right.
One of my favourite
give it a look.
pieces from him. Savage Avengers, is that one you've delved into?
No. Hardly.
Okay,
I only read one Marvel book at the moment, that's Daredevil.
Daredevil. Well, we did have Daredevil on the list. Reading the current Daredevil, which I believe is Chip Zdarsky.
Correct.
How far are you up with your Daredevil? Are you letting it build up, or are you reading it as you're going on?
No, I've got all 22 issues of that run. I haven't started it yet because I need to reread the previous volume, the Charles Soule volume, which I haven't started yet either, because I'm rereading the Mark Waid run.
Oh my
so
God.
Once I finish the Mark Waid run, then I'll read the Charlie Soule run, then I'll get on the Chip Zdarsky.
Yeah.
But I'm also reading the Ann Nesenti run at the moment from the late
wow.
80s. So
yeah, a lot of Daredevil going on
lot of
there.
Daredevil
Yeah,
going
I
on.
read the first issue, I think, of the current Daredevil run, and yeah, was very impressed. Very strong writing there from Zdarsky. Also very nice looking.
Yep.
We had a shout out for Firepower by Kirkman and Samney, and yeah, as a reader and collector of comics, I'm often sort of attracted towards the creative team.
Yep.
It's what sort of grabs my attention rather than necessarily the story or the characters. So strong creators like Kirkman and Samney will be people that always sort of pay attention to what they're doing.
Okay.
I picked up the first trade of Firepower. It's like a sort of a prologue graphic novel that they released, and yeah, very very strong. One of the best things that I've read this year. So yeah, strong recommend for that. Sort of very much in the vein of Iron Fist type mythology.
Okay.
Someone's doing a reread of the Uncanny X-Force.
Rick Remender one.
That's right.
Yeah, massively overrated.
I remember enjoying it at the time.
Loved it when it was coming out month by month. Did a reread in one binge and was like, it's okay.
Yeah, it's an interesting, because I love an omnibus collection, a big collection of comics all in one nicely bound hardback collection. And Uncanny X-Force for a long time was the great white whale of collecting, because it was gone out of print, much in demand, which meant that the price was rocketing on the secondary market. But yeah, it has been subsequently reprinted, so hopefully it is a lot more affordable for most people.
Okay.
One that I'd like to go and reread, because it's been quite a long time since I've read that. Immortal Hulk is on the list. I know you've been collecting that one. Have you actually? You've read some of it as well, right?
I had the first 30 issues, then I sold them all for about 170 quid on eBay. Good, but just not as good as the hype.
Yeah, it's a strong take, but yeah, maybe it has suffered a little bit from hype. We've got someone who's on the Hickman X-Men, I wouldn't say reboot, but reinvigoration of the line House of X and all of that kind of stuff. I really enjoyed the collection. Is sort of it's quite there's quite a lot of big ideas going on there. A lot of very different take on the X-Men to what we've seen for a long time.
Yeah.
Have you? How much of that have you
read?
Been reading?
Powers of X. No, Powers of 10, isn't it? And House of 10. It's not X. Powers of 10 and House of 10.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Okay. The X is meant to represent 10.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh.
So read those. Sold them on eBay. Was like, it's all right. Hickman. Haven't really enjoyed much Hickman lately. Probably for the last 10 years. I think his ideas are too big, and not for me, I'm afraid. Prefer his indie stuff.
Yeah, I prefer some smaller ideas, please.
Yes.
Pete, the man Seddon, is doing a Powers reread by Bendis.
Okay.
Yeah, another one of these books where creative team have done an awful lot of content. Same creative team. I really enjoyed that, but. Pete's gone back and sort of doing a long reread.
Interesting.
One of these books where it sort of is almost done as a season, and then it tries to reinvent itself as almost a completely different type of story, to kind of for the next arc kind of thing. So yeah, interesting. Friend of the show, Mate Myler, he's been enjoying Dark Knight's Death Metal and Savage Dragon.
Okay.
We also got another shout for Savage Dragon as well. It's not one that I've delved into too much. Have you ever dipped your toe in the Savage Dragon
Yeah,
world?
I had the first mini-series when it came out in 92, whenever it was 91. Then I had about the first 12 issues of the main run, and but just never carried on. But yeah, I think barrier to entry is a problem for me now. Too many issues, because I'd want to go back from the start, and I'm not going to sit down and read 250 issues of anything, I don't think, from the beginning.
Yeah, sometimes when there's so much of the content is a little bit daunting. We had a shout out for Mike Mignolo verse story Baltimore, which I've actually read the omnibus hardcover of the first volume of that. Yeah, quite interesting, dark tale there. Sort of a lot of the supernatural kind of lore where Baltimore is up against sort of a nasty vampire that he's trying to hunt down.
Okay.
And you've picked up a lot of the Mignola stuff, haven't you?
Yeah. I've got all the Hellboy and Hellboy library editions from Dark Horse. Then I had all the BPRDs. I sold a load of BPRD hardcovers recently, but I've never gone into the. I've read a couple of Sledgehammer 44s and the Witchfinder, but I've not read Baltimore.
Yeah, I'd say it's up there with the stuff. So I wouldn't necessarily put it above any of the other work from the Mignola verse, but yeah, it's an enjoyable and dark little corner of his world.
Yep, good stuff.
What else there's a Constantine Black Label shout out. I've heard people saying that they've been enjoying the latest Constantine stuff. Philip Rothenberger gave a shout out to the Hordes of Sorry.
Yeah.
which is
written by my good buddy Faceman Dave. Yeah,
there we go. I think after having the Kickstarter, the issue's dropping for that now. It's out in the wild.
I'm not sure. I don't think he's.
Right?
I don't know if he's selling it outside of Kickstarter at the moment.
Okay, but the Kickstarter.
Yeah, the Kickstarter. I've got my one. They've been posted out.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, so yeah, if that appeals, then do a Google Hordes of Sorry.
Yeah, do it. It's a 3-issue mini-series. I think he's going to kickstart issues 2 and 3 in the spring of next year. But a good little premise. Nice to read a comic of an area that I've been to recently as well. So get a kick out of that. Yeah, good stuff.
And that was the end of what I specifically sort of wanted to shout out. But yeah, thanks to everybody who sort of put in their answers, and no slight if I've not shouted out your particular story. We also got into discussing your Every Story Ever link list on the Facebook pages as well. So the Chief's big recommendations at the moment on your number 1 and number 2 on that list are.
Well,
Scout.
Yeah, I would say straying away from the question, which is kind of what are you reading at the moment. But yeah, looking at a list, it's a list that's nearly 2,000 entries, every comic story. I think I started it January 2017, maybe, or was it 2018? Can't remember, one of those two. Every comic I read I have to put on the list in a specific order of greatness down to turdness at the bottom, and I think numbers 1 and 2 are Scalped and Nikolai Dante from 2000 AD are my 2 all-time favourites. Some omissions. Watchmen's not on there just because I haven't read it since I started doing the list. I obviously have read Watchmen, but I don't feel comfortable placing it on the list without having read it recently, so there's lots of omissions. But even if it's stuff I have read, it needs to be read since I started doing the list to be accurately placed on the list. So that is freely available, that link on the Facebook group, so you can come and see, accurately how good stuff is or not. Stuff that I'm reading at the moment, Deadly Class I get, although I am way behind on Deadly Class. That's Rick Remender. Gideon Falls, Jeff Lemire, kind of a horror book. But again, I'm about 5 issues behind on that. Ascender. That is, I think that's another Jeff Lemire book actually.
Written, and Dustin
Goyen, really nice. Yeah. That's a sequel to Descender. The Weatherman, Nathan Fox, really enjoy that. It's a trilogy, and this is about to wrap up part 6 on the second middle part of the trilogy. What else do I get? Low. There's another Rick Remender book actually with Greg Tocchini on art. Beautiful book, but only about 2 issues come out a year, which is a shame. Daredevil, and then I think that's all I get actually. I'll get Strange Adventures by Tom King and Mitch Gerards from DC. But that's about all I get on the monthlies at the moment. And rereads of back issue stuff, like I said, Daredevil, multiple incarnations of Daredevil. I've started dipping my toe back into some Dark Horse Star Wars books because they're available on the Marvel Unlimited app now as well. So getting them through there. But that's about it. That's all the to read pile is massive. Don't get me wrong, which I don't know yours is, but
yeah, I've got to read Room.
Good stuff.
My big sort of my big favourites from this year, probably Descender, as you say, is great. I enjoyed Paper Girls, which I think is having an adaptation. Is it probably an HBO series, but it's getting an adaptation. And my favourite probably was actually Lazarus this year, which
that's
is
Rucker,
Greg Rucker and Michael Lark on art, and it's like a kind of future dystopian Game of Thrones is how I would describe it. Very, very strong.
All right, good stuff. Thanks for getting in touch with us and letting us know, and all the listeners, the choices of what stuff we should be reading. So thanks for that. We do have a question for next week's show, and it is...
Okay, for episode 99, our question for you is, we've got to issue 250 in our read-through on the podcast. And it feels like we've got to, a bit of a milestone in terms of that sort of new creative team coming on board, and the Dawn story sort of having a bit of a change of focus. But what would you like to see in the G.I. Joe book coming up? So if looking forward from 250, you're writing your letter into the postbox, the pit, to Larry, what would you say you would like to see more of in the book going forward?
Yep, good stuff. Interesting to see what we get from there. But also, coming off the back of that, don't forget the episode 100 we talked about, and getting the crew back together. Just fire us off any questions you got for any of the 5 co-hosts that have housed and done work on Talking Joe. Got any questions for any of us, put them in the usual places. That's talking_Joe on Twitter, Talking Joe Comics on Instagram, talkingjoecomics@gmail.com, or come and join the Facebook group if you're not already there. It's Talking Joe, a G.I. Joe podcast, and let us know any questions for any of the Talking Joe hosts. So I think that about wraps it up, doesn't it?
That's us done. Tick.
Tick. Yeah. So with all that said and done, we'll catch you down the road.
Because we've been Talking Joe.
And we're all out of Joes. Laters.